Hello YouTube, 잘 지내요? Today I've got a pretty special video going on. I've talked a lot about what life in Korea is like, what teaching in Korea is like and all that, but it never occurred to me to go over how to actually come over here. I think I mentioned it in a video long time ago, like what the steps are required to come into Korea. But I want to go over quite simply what is the simplest effective way to come into Korea as an English teacher. And I figured it'd be a bit boring to just sit in the good old chair at home, so we're going to go to my favorite park, Borame, as it has been freshly renovated, as we go over the details in teaching English in Korea and how you can be an English teacher in Korea. Let's go. So first off, I do want to apologize to anyone who is outside of the US, UK, Australia, and South Africa, as you will not unfortunately be able to teach English unless you're from those countries, and even South Africa sometimes is a bit pushing it. So if you are from anywhere else in the world, teaching English in Korea is not going to be one of the ways you come in and live here and work here in Korea, sadly. Now, there are other opportunities still, but seeing as how getting your foot in the door by teaching English is one of the easiest methods, going with the other routes might be a bit more challenging. So I would recommend taking the university route to be able to live in Korea and then eventually work in Korea. Now, with those formalities out of the way, what is the way to come to teach English in Korea? EPIK. Certainly EPIK is a decent program that allows you to come in to the country, but their payment system is really whack. I highly recommend to anybody, don't go through EPIK. Yeah, you will have the guarantee of like the program, and I do believe that they have support as you come into the country, and they do give maybe some stipend, I think, upon arriving. I don't know if that's still available. It was a couple of years ago, but they pay based off of levels, like a leveling system, a 1, 2, 3 leveling system. And now, unfortunately, they don't help anyone that does have a bachelor's degree in like any major. So for example, a couple of years ago when I came in, I mean, my bachelor's is simply in communication and marketing, nothing to do with teaching. Communication, some part has been helpful in teaching, but not an actual teaching degree, and yet I was still able to come here. I did not come through EPIK, but at that time I would have been able to. But now, as per their website, they said they don't support anyone with just a random degree. You must have some TEFL experience at the very least, like the certification of 120 hours or so. And based off of that leveling, you will get paid accordingly depending on the region. Now, that's another thing that I'm not a big fan of the EPIK program. You don't necessarily get to choose where you go. There is a choice slot, but it is highly competitive because bigger cities like Busan or Seoul, even maybe Daegu, they are highly sought after. So unless you have high qualifications or a higher education degree, you might not get the city you choose, nor will you get a satisfactory salary. And what would be a satisfactory salary? As of right now, a livable wage for someone living alone with a provided apartment, anything above 2.5 is pretty satisfactory. I believe at the lowest level, according to their website, for a city that's not Seoul, they provide like 2.3, 2.4. That's just unacceptable. Even if it's not a big city, the differences between payment for a random city in Korea versus a big city doesn't change that much. It's not like other countries where living outside of the big city is going to affect how much you spend. Sure, you might not be going out as much in the bigger cities, but your normal expenditures of utilities and groceries and all that don't fluctuate that much compared to living in Seoul or in outer areas. So due to this leveling shenanigans that they got going on and the fact they don't get to necessarily choose your city, I really advise not going through EPIK. It's a great program that gives support, but that's about it. And you can get support once you are in the country, whether through its other coworkers or people you meet in Korea itself. So Kevin, what is the best way to come to Korea? What is the simplest, easiest way? Dave's ESL Cafe. Dave's ESL Cafe. I cannot stress that enough. It is probably the #1 most useful website you can use to find a job in Korea. Now there are others like English Rock, I think, but for all the jobs I've searched for, all the jobs I've seen that are pretty good, the ones that I've either acquired or wish to acquire have been posted through Dave's ESL Cafe. And it's great. It's so simple. The website at first might seem a bit confusing because the links all they kind of look sketchy, I'm not gonna lie, because there's some advertisements that have like stars and smiley faces, things like that. It's not spam, I swear to you, it's not any like scammy links or anything. They are all legitimate posting links for some Hagwon or recruiter that's looking to bring in English teachers from one of the said countries I mentioned earlier. So why is this probably the easiest method to come and teach English in Korea? Well, in some cases, you can actually talk to the schools directly versus going through a recruiter. Now, recruiters are still a good way to get the option of seeing multiple schools. I will not discount going through recruiters, but if you can, going through the school directly is the better option because you have more of a guarantee what the school is actually like versus going through a recruiter whose sole job is to get you in the country because they get paid based off of doing so. And that's the best way to come in to teach English in Korea. Going through the website yourself, looking for the jobs yourself, and eventually booking that contract or signing that contract with an academy is the best way to come and teach English in Korea. No program, no other people kind of being a middleman, minus maybe a recruiter. But you will be able to negotiate the salary, you will be able to find the conditions, you will be able to know everything about the school, and not only that, you will be able to choose the location you go to. You can specifically say what school, what area, what age group you want to teach. As I mentioned before, I love Dave's ESL Cafe. It's such a great website. So if you're looking to teach English in Korea, you want the simplest way, that's the one to do. As I said before, it might look a bit confusing at first, but you'll get used to it in no time. Just click the links, just click all of them. After clicking through all the links, just verify everything, right? Some of them, just send your resume out because some of them are just recruiters. Send the resume, send your details, everything, and then they will reach out to you. There is almost no shot that they don't reach out to you. I've never met anyone who has clicked out to recruiter and they didn't reach out to them within the next day or 2 days later. They are willing to hire or look for jobs for you. Now that you know where to go to choose your job, how do you know what job is actually good? Now, I did mention this before a couple videos, but I wanted to go over the main things you need to look out for, and that all involves the payment. The payment is the #1 thing you really need to verify and how it's being paid. As I mentioned before, the payment should be at least 2.5. If jobs are offering less than that, it might not be worth trying to get that job in the first place. Now, this is a very hard thing to balance. Maybe 2.4 would be the lowest you should be willing to go, but nothing lower than that. 2.5 really should be the minimum. And the reason that this is pretty hard to get sometimes is because a lot of jobs will try to offer you less based off of the fact that you don't have any teaching experience within the country. Now, if you do have teaching experience outside of the country, that is beneficial, it will help you, but they will still try to weasel their way around and be like, oh, you've never taught in another country, you haven't taught ESL in another country, it's different, blah, blah, blah. Don't let them dissuade you with that. 2.5 or higher, nothing less. These days, jobs are starting to at least offer that, but there are still jobs out there that offer less and will try to say things like, oh, we are giving you accommodation, it's your first time here. They'll try to weasel you out of it, and don't let them. If they're going to pay you less, do not take that offer. I'm not saying living with less than 2.5 is unlivable. You can live with 2.3, 2.4. It is possible, of course. But you do want to enjoy your time, maybe have some savings to 2.5 at least would be a good starting point for all of you coming here, and then eventually maybe working your way up, finding better jobs, getting better salary, all of those things. Another thing to take a look at is when you're getting paid. Make sure that's clearly written. Most contracts I've seen do tell when you're getting paid, at least you know, and it is written down, so they can't talk their way out of it. Oh, we aren't supposed to pay this day, blah, blah, blah. No, make sure it's in the contract what day it's supposed to be paid. The last important thing to note is what specifically is in the payment itself. I've seen plenty of teachers who've had a hidden fee suddenly taken out of their salary and no idea why. It's not the insurance, it's not anything that would be normally taken out as tax, but it's a random payment. The school says, hey, we're taking out this money as insurance for ourselves so you don't run away and do something else. That is a load of crap. Make sure that isn't there. They should not do that. They should be trusting you to come in and teach, and there should be no problems. There should be no other hidden fees in your salary. Only the tax, medical insurance, that kind of thing. Other than that, nothing else. If there are other hidden payments, make sure you ask about it before you sign the contract. After you sign the contract, there's not much you can do about it. You can't get out of it. So please make sure you check that before you sign the contract. The last little detail to make sure is the housing situation. This one is important, but not as much as the salary itself or the payment. Housing should be notified of whether they're providing it for you or they are giving you a stipend. Please make sure to check that. If possible, it would be nice to ask them in detail what the place looks like. Sometimes schools don't do this, and it's a very hard thing to negotiate sometimes. In my opinion, it is a much safer bet to go with the school if they are willing to disclose what the apartment looks like ahead of time. That is a huge, huge benefit and trust. If they don't do that, it's also kind of a sign to not go with the school, because there's no reason for them to not show off what the apartment looks like. After all, you're moving to a new country. You should be satisfied with where you're staying. You can't expect some very fancy apartment, like 2-bedroom, whatever. Most of the time it's going to be a 1-room. At the very least, it should look clean, feel safe, and be in a decent area, maybe not too far away from the school, so you don't have to pay too much money to go there or just walk to your school. That's what you need to look out for when you ask them what the apartment looks like. So again, when you're asking these things, don't let them bully you. Make sure you ask these questions and you'll be good to go. There are other things in the contract to make sure of, but I've detailed those in the previous video. You can check that out at any time. And that's pretty much it, YouTube. That's how you teach English in Korea. It's that easy. You might be thinking to yourself, isn't there any documents, like paperwork, things I need to do? Yes, there are. There's paperwork, of course, but it's pretty simple paperwork, kind of. Most of it is taken care of by your recruiter / the school itself. They will do a lot of the paperwork for you, and the only thing you have to do is basically sign and bring some documents yourself. The documents you need to bring are your notarized and apostilled diploma and the apostilled background check. I don't think it needs to be notarized. It's either notarized or apostilled. It's just one. It doesn't need both like the diploma does. And then the contract itself, because you will need to get the visa before you enter the country. And you can do this by going to the nearest Korean embassy of where you live. Now, depending on where you are from, or depending what city you're in, getting to the closest Korean embassy might be a bit difficult, and you will have to mail it in along with your passport and other documents. That sucks. It's always really hard to mail those kind of personal things, because if it gets lost, it's a big problem. So certainly recommend visiting the embassy as much as you can. If you can't, mail everything in, and it should come back within a couple of weeks, ready for you to go and travel to Korea. So document-wise, there isn't too much to be worried about. There are some small, minor annoyances that come attached with it, as I've detailed in another video with the contract, and one of my very first videos of all my visa paperwork getting lost in a different country and all that. But thankfully, things have gotten a bit more streamlined, and getting those documents done, as long as you're within your own country, will be much easier than coming in and doing a visa run, what I did. Furthermore, if you're going through Dave's ESL Cafe, you don't need to have a specific degree. Of course, having a TEFL certification or teaching degree is really nice and does benefit you, but you don't need to worry about not having that You can simply come in with whatever bachelor's degree you have, teach, get a decent job, as decent as it can be, and then work your way up through the ranks as I have. Just change job if you need to, negotiate a higher salary, keep changing until you find the job that works for you, or until you're satisfied and want to go back home. Whatever works for you. Again, it is all possible thanks to you doing it yourself through Dave's ESL Cafe. And there you go, YouTube. It's that easy. That's how you come and teach English in Korea. Now, I could go on and on what academies are the best, which ones are not good, which ones look out for, but your experience will ultimately be different from mine. I know which academies I would steer clear of, but that's just because of my experience. Your experience at the same academy could be much different. My only strong suggestion is try to avoid hagwons that are conglomerate-ish, meaning they have multiple varieties of them. It's better to go with the smaller academies because they tend to be nicer, in my experience at least, than the bigger hagwons. Alrighty, YouTube, and with that being said, we end on Metabo. I love that they just put ditto everywhere in this beautiful park. This park has been highly renovated. It's amazing. Borame Park is another reason why you should come to Korea. This park is so good. It's not very big, but it's got all kinds of really cool things. This is actually only be here till the end of this month, I believe, but the park is still worth a visit anyway, either way. Anyways, YouTube, I hope all the information I gave you today, was helpful and you'll be able to use it on your trip to Korea to teach English. Now, I know teaching English may not be the job for you, may not be suitable for you, but it is the excellent gateway to come into Korea and then further go on whatever path you end up choosing, or just taking a year break from the stressful daily lives of living in your home country and taking it easy in maybe another country. So without further ado, YouTube, thanks for watching. As always, like and subscribe if you like ditto. Who doesn't like this cute little guy? And leave a comment below if you have any questions about moving to Korea, any concerns, anything I can answer. More than happy to help. Ciao for now.